Hey everyone, we're back here at JFrog swampUP in beautiful Napa Valley at the Meritage. We've had a great day of talking to some really great people, and we're ending it with a really smart lady I'm going to
Oh,
introduce
thank
you
you.
to here in a second. Her name is Jiong Liu, and Jiong is with Wiz. And beyond that, Jiong, I'm going to leave it to you to talk to our audience.
Yeah.
Tell them a little about yourself.
Sure. Thank you so much, Alan, for having me. So Wiz, a little bit about Wiz. We do cloud security, and our goal is really to help organizations adopt cloud as well as AI as fast as possible. And I'm the VP of product marketing, so I'm responsible for product go-to-market strategy as well as execution at Wiz.
Love it. Um, our audience is very familiar with Wiz, obviously. We've been following them for a long time. I wanted to ask about you though, because people are saying, wow, great. She's got a great job over there, but give people a little bit of sense of your journey in the industry.
Yeah, so I will say I grew up in Silicon Valley. Both of my parents were engineers, and I fully rebelled. They expected me to go and be an engineer as well. I started going down the computer science path, realized I hated it, and so I fully rebelled into finance.
Okay.
And did that for a bit before I saw the error of my ways and
Uh,
realized I need to come back to technology. What's core to me is building cool stuff, right? That actually makes an impact rather than necessarily helping rich people stay rich or get richer.
uh,
And so that ultimately ended up taking me back into technology, back to Silicon Valley. I was incredibly fortunate to land at Okta. And so really saw actually for the first time how IT became an enabler of the business, right? Because this was the wave where we had SaaS, right? And IT could really enable that. And this was also the time when organizations were really thinking about how authentication can be actually an enabler again of the applications that they are building for their customers when you think about identity being so central to the journey that you want to take a customer on. So that was a phenomenal journey. Ended up seeing Okta grow from about 400 people to 6,000 people. Very large company at that point.
nice.
Decided it was time to get back to that builder route. And Wiz was just by far and away crushing it. Such an incredible vision that they had as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I always said identity, IAM, was the killer security app for the cloud, right? So I grew up in the security before the cloud. And for us, it was the Moat and Castle era, right? And cloud changed all that, but IAM became kind of paramount until the Wiz came along,
Well,
right?
cloud,
Well, cloud made
or cloud
IAM,
development.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
But Wiz came and we started looking at cloud security, container security,
Hmm.
cloud native security in a different light. Um, you're here, we're at JFrog, obviously. You presented today. If you wouldn't mind, share with the audience a little bit about what you presented on.
Yeah. So I think one of the key challenges that we see is there's actually been multiple generations of cloud at this point, right?
Yeah,
We've had cloud for 20, some 25,
20
30
years.
years
Yeah, around
or so.
2005 or 4.
And I think really in the early days, it was a lot more of the lift and shift, right? We could take our on prem approaches, we could take our workloads, move them into virtual machines. And really, a lot of that has dramatically changed, right? It's changed with cloud native development, where every team, every organization is trying to move faster and faster and faster. We have developers that are writing application code. We have infrastructure folks writing infrastructure as code. And all of that is being shipped every single day. So development is incredibly agile and continuous. But the challenge that we have long had in security is our org structures, our workflows, even the tools that we have, right? They're still very vertical and siloed. So application security teams, they run code scanners that look for vulnerabilities just in code, right? And then we have DevSecOps teams now that run scanners and pipeline that just look for issues in the pipeline, evolved out of infrastructure as code scanning. In cloud, we have organizations using tools like Wiz that evolved out of CSPM tools that are primarily used by cloud security teams, but increasingly developers. And then in SecOps, we have like a whole other completely different
Yeah.
landscape of tools for the runtime. And so all of this is very disjointed, right? It's very fragmented. How do I actually understand a vulnerability here in code that my SAST tool found actually is deployed into production and is running on a privileged container in my environment? It's actually very difficult to understand. And I think, when we look at CISOs, when we look at business leaders even, they ask these horizontal questions like, where are the container images? Where am I exposing sensitive data of my customer facing applications? Where's my risk? Where's my exposure? And it's very difficult for security to answer those questions today because it is so siloed. So really what I was presenting on is how do we flip that model, right? How does security become horizontal so that we can move at the pace that our development teams and DevOps teams expect for us? And really the key to do that is, in our view, context, right? Understand what's running in the cloud, give you the context for the code that created it as well as the owner that is responsible, and then give you runtime context, right? What's actually in use, what's loaded into memory that we should prioritize.
I love it. What you just said in a lot of words was why we have 7,600 venture-backed or public security companies, because it is so fragmented and so siloed and so specialized. Everybody's a specialist. And, when the average, not even big enterprise, when the average like SME enterprise, I forgot what the number was, 18, 17 different security vendors in a relatively small company. You just hit it on the head, right? You imagine, you're a CISO and you're responsible for 17 different security vendors, and you got to make those all work together, right? It's enough to drive you to drink, is what it is. But and we're trying to consolidate, but at the same time, the pressure to keep up with the pace of innovation, with the pace of AI, with the pace of how much code we're churning out right now. It's like, it was Mission Impossible before. This is
Yeah.
Mission Impossible squared. Um,
But
what is the answer?
what I would argue is I think we overly focus on tool consolidation, right? Tool consolidation is an outcome, but I would say the issue is we have a lot of data, but we don't know how to turn it into something that we can action, right? Every organization, you go to them, they've got their Excel spreadsheet of millions of vulnerabilities, right? It's not that we have a problem with finding vulnerabilities. We have a problem with prioritizing and then getting someone to actually fix it. So context for us is how do we really get the insight out of all of this pool of data that we have on what's most critical, and then let's break the silos between our teams so we can actually work together to fix them.
Music to my ears. I mean, I'm thinking back. So I started a company called Still Secure in 2001. In 2003, we came out with a vulnerability scanner, long time ago. And that what you just described was exactly the state of the art in 2003. People scanned about once a year. They printed out a telephone book, and it was like job security, right? Because it took you a year to go through that book,
Yeah.
and just in time for the next scan for the new book. Um, we've tried to get better. You're right. Now, at the same time, 12, 13 years ago, I started DevOps.com primarily because I thought it was a better shot at security. Like we could correct some, original sins built into security. Really push for the whole DevSecOps thing. Like at RSA conference, we did the first DevSecOps conferences there and everything. We've come a long way. But one of the lessons we learned is that developers are not security people. They want to develop quality code. Like, I've never met a developer who says, I want to develop insecure
Yes.
code, right? They all want to do. But I think one of the mistakes that we've made as an industry is thinking that if I only could make them a security person, they develop better code. They could be a security champion. They have pride in their product, but you still need security people at some level doing the security and helping them.
Yes. I agree with that. But I think, again, for developers, it's not like there was a lack of data. Like,
No.
we tell them all the time, look at all these vulnerabilities. But the issue was, what should I prioritize,
Yes.
right? Again, it's what is the insight? What's the needle in the haystack out of this very long list that you've given to me, security team? And how do we start giving them that prioritization? Actually, again, through context,
Yeah.
right? Instead of saying, hey, developer, did you know you have hundreds, maybe thousands of exposed secrets or secrets that have to be rotated? Instead of saying that, we can say, actually, of all of these, this is the one secret that I need you to focus on because I actually know that it leads to an admin in our cloud environment that has access to sensitive data, right? We give that developer that information. They get it,
So
right?
how do we get the, is that information derived using AI or some sort of automated means? Or does that take the security pro saying, that's the one?
So I think it's two things, right? One is you have to correlate the signals together, right? So your secret scanner has to talk to what the entitlements and the identities that you have in the cloud, right? So your KIM solution, and you have to be able to correlate that together. So a tool can do that. Security teams can also help you to do that as well, and they can provide the signal of this is what's most important for you to go fix. Then we can actually use AI to accelerate that path to remediation, right? Because there's actually a number of ways to resolve that particular issue. You could delete the key, might be a little aggressive. You could rotate the key, right?
Kind
But
of shooting the patient to save them, but okay. Uh,
sometimes.
uh,
But we can offer all of the different paths to
absolutely.
remediation. And the developer, again, they know what is best for their applications, for the repositories that they are working on. So you can give them that, and AI can help them actually take, okay, I think this is the best path to then actually getting to a fix.
So I've spoken to a lot of security companies recently who are saying nirvana is we automate this. We automate prioritization and remediation. Now, look, from my time on the other side of the camera, selling automated remediation was not an easy sell. People are scared to death of that, right? But have we come or are we coming to maybe a point where we can convince a developer or an ops team that, hey, for 80% of the garden variety stuff we see, automated remediation is the way to go.
I think that is a nirvana. Maybe it's not that far off, but from what we've seen, organizations want to automate everything around a decision point and an action that still requires a human in
Human.
the loop. Especially because we started in cloud, right? Automated remediation in cloud is a very aggressive, right? If
It's
we,
it's aggressive everywhere. Believe
it's
me.
true.
That's why I'm still doing this and I'm not retired. But
Yeah.
people just don't want. They're afraid that you're going to break something.
Rightfully so.
Yeah.
No, like you could be taking down production workloads. You can taking down production customer applications. It requires you to feel that like impact, and so that's why we think there is a human in the loop still. But as much of everything around it that we can automate as possible, we should. And I think that does allow us to really start getting out of the continuous patching game and really start burning down these backlogs that we've had forever.
Absolutely. Patching is unfortunately a losing prop. That's again something that we've been remediating since 2000 or trying to do since 2003 and it's never gone on. Let me pivot a little bit. We're here at JFrog swampUP. You did present, as I mentioned, and we've been talking about that. What's the connection with JFrog? Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So I'd say overall, we share very similar visions, right? When we think about how do we secure development that is happening faster and faster every day, it requires security to move faster and it requires every team within security to also work together as well. So at Wiz, from actually the pretty early days, we have scanned JFrog Artifactory to bring in their understanding of container images and artifacts into Wiz to to give that complete understanding of the cloud environment. Now, what is coming next is we're deepening our integrations because we both believe in that open security ecosystem in order to share context that empowers all of our teams. And so from a Wiz perspective, we have a lot of understanding about the risks associated with cloud. We understand runtime context, the code context as well. And so we're bringing that prioritization, bringing the risks and all of that back to JFrog. And similarly, JFrog has very deep understandings of packages, right? And so we can take their reachability analysis, that acceptability as well, and we can layer that into Wiz and use that context to also further enrich our prioritization as well as the move to actually getting to a fix.
I love it. Last question or last area I want to talk on. You can't take two steps without tripping over AI here. What's the AI angle behind all this?
Yeah. Well, so when we look at AI, there are really two sides of the coin. One is how do we actually secure the AI infrastructure? And a lot of it is being built on top of cloud. And so for us, it is actually a very natural extension of what we know about cloud environments, right? We need to understand the configuration, the control plane. We need to understand identities that are associated with it, or non-human identities in this case. We need to understand the workload layer or the data layer that's being used to train the models and do a complete assessment of the risks that are there. And from there, we can enable now AI teams, bring them into the fold, break the walls and silos with them so that they can actually take ownership and help us to secure those elements of their environment. The other side is around how AI can actually empower all of our defenders to be much smarter, to secure things, to take action with less resources. And so we're actually seeing such incredible results there. As an example, we released a new product today called Wiz OS. It's all about hardened container images, so you can start secure. And what we're seeing is we can actually use AI to immediately point out to teams, these are the most impactful places for you to start deploying this so that you really start getting value right off the bat. And by the way, here's a migration plan, right? Here's everything automated, delivered into the hands of that DevOps team or DevSecOps team so that they can get going on that journey.
Let's talk about that. I'm sorry. I know I said the last thing, but I got some questions here. So how big is the library, if you will, of these hardened container images, if we could call it that?
Yeah, so for us, we are starting with the set that our customers primarily require. So it's all of the major languages. We've got Ruby, Python, right? We also have FIPS compliant images as well.
Wow.
We expect to grow the catalog as we continue seeing customer adoption. But the question that we get from customers, or what we've found through our product development, is it's not the number of images, right? Again, it's like the impactfulness, right? Help me cover the most important components of my containerized environment and then help me actually adopt it, because that's been one of the key challenges. There are so many container images in an organization. Security oftentimes is very little visibility even into where are all of my container images? Which ones are validated in runtime, right? Which is probably where we should start to focus first. So we're layering on this element of the product with the overall end-to-end container security approach to help organizations, again, prioritize and then actually then swap in where you will have the biggest impact in reducing the number of CVEs.
And this was released today, so this is not live. People will be watching in the next couple of days. But as of September 9th,
correct.
It's out right now.
It is out in public preview, which means every single one of our customers has access to it and can start adopting it today.
I love it. Wiz OS.
Wiz OS.
You heard it here on Techstrong. Well, John, thank you so much. Thank you. I know it's kind of the end of the day, and you were nice enough to come in.
Oh, no, thank you for having me.
But keep up the great work, man. Wiz is doing exciting things in this cloud security and security space in general. So it's great to have you on. Come back. We do this all the time, remotely, in person. We'd love to have you back.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Jiong Liu with Wiz here at JFrog swampUP. That's going to wrap up our day one coverage here at JFrog. We'll be back tomorrow. We've got a full day starting, I think, at 11 or something. So stay tuned then. But until then, this is Alan Schimmel for Techstrong TV. Thanks, everyone.